see this? Is this to keep us going later than the 20 minutes that you guaranteed?
If I remember from yesterday, your vision was longer meetings, Bob. I would say fit into a sentence.
Okay.
4 hours of retreat. Bob says we want longer meetings. Yeah.
Meaningful meetings.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. I can't eat this now. We're going to go live. Okay, what do you got? Over, under, in 15 minutes. What do we think? 15 minutes? 20 minutes?
Up to you, boss.
Should be good.
Mr. Mayor, that light's not going to come on. You're ready to go.
We're live? Okay, very good. I now call this special meeting of April 10th, 2018 to order. If you could all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda tonight is to approve a special municipal referendum election on June 12th, 2018, and to approve the ballot language as recommended by the Auburn School Department. I will entertain a motion. I have a motion from Councilor Hayes. Do I have a second? Second from Councilor Lasagna. I'm going to favor my right today.
Oh, couldn't hear me.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment at this time? Superintendent Grondin, if you'd like to, I know you're here, and thank you very much. I think we've all read over the information, but if you, could just give us like that 30,000-foot overview.
Okay, well, thank you for having this special meeting tonight. I really appreciate it. As we all work through what does it mean for Regional Service Center, what are the processes that need to be in place. So when we realized there had to be a second ballot and a question, I really appreciate you acting quickly to come together. So I do want to thank you for that. Just so you know, this is being encouraged by the Commissioner of Education around districts working closer together around efficiencies and programming. And so our Regional Service Center will be with SAD 52 and RSU 16, which is the Poland region and Turner, so Turner, Leeds, and Green, and mine at Mechanic Falls in Poland. Lewiston was also involved. Their school board did not support it. However, I believe it's going to be brought back to the board in April, at their next April meeting, and they will be having Mary Payne from the Department of Education come and speak more to it. So Lewiston is not, in my opinion, officially out. They think they may have time that if their board does support it, that they would be back in. So we've put in our interlocal agreement with the Department of Education, and the next step is our board will take vote on May 2nd, you taking the vote tonight for the question to go on the ballot, and then the public needs to approve it at our June referendum date. And all the other districts need approval, and then we move forward, and we'll be meeting to discuss the things that we're going to start. We're starting small because everybody wants to get their, get the lay of the land, but we're talking about right now substitute service, going in together on that, purchasing and looking at that as another item. I'm drawing a blank. What is that one?
Possibly nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition, purchasing, teacher, a leadership program. So there's some things that we're going, once everybody gets through the creation of the Regional Service Center, then we will come together. I'm serving as the executive director, and our business office will be the fiscal agent for the program. If Lewiston comes back in, that may change because they were originally that. So we'll see. But things are still coming through.
So we're a little out of sequence. But I understand it's primarily because of the timing.
Correct. And the DOE is fine. We are in contact with them on a regular basis, and they're fine. They're like, everything's good.
This primary list deadline is set forth in order to get absentee ballots printed and the appropriate timing before the election. Okay. So there's still a chance, and if I could ask on a procedural point, if the school committee votes against this, then we would strike it from the ballot?
They're not, they've had 2 meetings on it. The last meeting, there was no questions. They were all in support. We didn't take an official vote. We took kind of is everybody all set, and everybody, I mean, Elfrida can speak to it, but.
Right. I think, well, the thing is that I was thinking the whole idea of collaboration, it's not a consolidation, really. It's a collaboration. It's getting together. We have funds that are earmarked, $92,300, I believe it is.
Correct.
And that's additional funds that perhaps Lewis didn't realize that there were funds attached to that they wouldn't have to repay. I'm not
Right.
sure, but
Right.
I hope they rethink it, because it's really important to have them across the river join us. I like this idea. You know, I've been pushing for this for a long time, especially in terms of special education.
Right.
And it seems that when we talked about it, everyone on the school committee was really in agreement and very favorable towards it. Just to remind, the city council here of the functions and programs and services, section 8 on this. One is special ed students, for special ed services for children aged 3 to 5, and they would be exploring a grant for this, because you know how I feel strongly about regionalization of special ed near home, because they're going to be here when they leave school. This is their home. And support for recruitment and placement of substitutes, food service planning and purchases, programs in support of principal leadership development, RETC, general bid supplies, joint energy purchasing. So these are some of the things that they would make available to this cohort.
Right.
So just to give a little background.
Are there any other comments or questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Zine?
Thank you. Superintendent Grondin, do you know why Lewiston School Committee had voted against it?
The one concern, and I was not there, so I'm speaking secondhand, is that the concern about leaving the Regional Service Center. So in the interlocal agreement, you have to vote at the director level, the board level, and your school committee has to agree to it. So if the school committee said, we want to leave the Great Falls Regional Service Center, it also in the law says the commissioner would have to agree. So they were concerned that if they said they wanted to leave and the Commissioner of Education said they couldn't leave, they did not like that. That was one big reason.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions or comments from the council at this time? Councilor Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's more or less just a procedural question. Now, wouldn't the ballots get printed? There's got to, I would assume that there's enough room on the ballot for this couple sentence to be printed. You wouldn't be needing to have a whole special page or piece of paper, would you?
We do have to have it printed on separate ballots because we don't know when council is going to vote to approve the school budget, so it impacts the timeline when absentee ballots are available. So we are going to have a separate ballot.
We did check with the Department of Education about paying for the ballot, and they are paying for the ballot.
Councilor Thomas?
Superintendent Grondin, do you anticipate the money that is being used the first year for expenses for the service center to continue, or would it be kind of like an unfunded mandate in the future? That is, all of a sudden now we have to share equally?
Well, that's why it was really important that the superintendents be on the board, is to really, because we all are shepherds of our own departments as well, so we don't want to do anything that would put undue burden on our individual communities as well. So that's why the first year will be just spending the $92,300 allocated by the state. The other funds, the $98,000 that's on our ED 279s, we are recommending to the school committee at this point to go into fund balance and not be used, so that we aren't relying on it for the following year, the $98,000. We will then the following year have an increase on our subsidy for regionalization. And so as we look for the second year, things like if we don't do the 3 to 5 year olds as planned, because we are not going to do the FEDIS grant, we may look at another special education program that we may be able to fund regionally and use those funds. So we're all coming in with a different amount that has been allocated. So we're going to be looking at how to best use those funds so that it doesn't put undue burden if those funds were pulled away. We won't know. That's kind of why we're starting very small, because if the law changes, there are bills to change the law, so we want to make sure we're being able to respond to that. So we've all four been very thoughtful around that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions or comments at this time?
I have one other quick one. I apologize. Thank you,
Councilor
Mr. Mayor.
Zahn.
Superintendent Gronin, how will we kind of market this? Because it's a little bit subtle in terms of what it means and what it means for the future in terms of the budget.
So I always do a mailing every year with the budget, and so we'll include information around this in the mailing. So to make sure people understand what the purpose was for it. So we do plan on putting in our mailing.
There'll be a public hearing. We have to have a public hearing on this too.
Okay, so there'll be a public hearing in addition as we get closer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to bring this up to a vote. First of all, is there any more public comment? None being. I'm going to now ask for a vote by show of hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, abstained, none. The motion carries 6-0 with Councillor Young absent. Moving on. Next is resolve supporting a collaborative effort between the school and city to achieve cost savings and or improve services. I will entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councillor Fournier. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Councillor Gary. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this resolution? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Council, have you all had a chance to look in your packets and review the resolution? Is there any comments, questions?
I think it's a very positive resolution, and I think that it is a very hopeful document, and it talks about, what we can do together for the benefit of city, of school, and our whole community. And I really feel good about it. I think it's a great start.
Good, thank you. Councillor Hayes.
Just a question more on the date that's included, June 7th, to have a report presented no later than that time. I guess the only question I have, I guess I'm directed to our manager, that we're going into the budget period. I'm not sure how much work would be entailed to come up with a report by this date, or how important, I guess, is this date?
I wouldn't expect the Declaration of Independence at this point. We will be able to give you an update on where we're at. As you know, we have been talking about strategic planning process for the city government, and one of the subcommittees that we've been discussing as we evolve this process is the idea of having an education and city collaboration subcommittee. Katie's already set in on a preliminary discussion about that. So I think we'll be able to come to you by June 7th with some thoughts and ideas, but I wouldn't expect that it's going to be a complete report at that point in time. It'll be a progress update, I would say.
And let me just wrap up some of the comments. And first of all, I want to thank City Manager Creighton, as well as Superintendent Grondin and Chairman Kendall on helping craft this too. It's an important policy move, I think, for all of us, for both bodies. And whereas it really establishes the sincerity of this organization, or excuse me, this entity, as well as the school committee, to focus in on ways to deliver better service, not just education, but also to every citizen in Auburn. And it should never be construed as, something taking over something else. So there's a lot of different ways, and if we approach this in a very open-minded fashion, we might be, shocked that of some of the proposals that come out that might be at first glance counterintuitive. You wouldn't think of that, and that's what I'm hoping this spurs, this type of conversation, dialogue, and thought process. At the end of the day, we have to provide a cost-effective service, a value add to our citizens, whether they be 5 years old in kindergarten or 95 years old living in Auburn their entire lives. So working together, I think we can accomplish this. So I'm very glad. I'm looking forward to seeing the school committee take this up as well. And at this point, I'm going to ask for a vote by a show of hands. All those in favor, please raise your left hand. All those opposed, abstain, motion passes 6-0. Ambidextrous? You get a pass then. At this point, 15 minutes in, I got the over-under. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
I got a motion from Councilor Fournier. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilor Lasagna. All those in favor of adjourning right now, please raise your left hand. There we go. By a vote of 6-0, we are adjourned. Told you 15 minutes. Sorry, Councilor Hayes.
I'm going to remember this day